Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us on Between the Covers. My name is Bradley Shaw, and tonight I'm talking to Ryle Moldrich, author of Shanthy. Good evening, Ryle. How are you tonight?
Good evening, Brad. I think I'm cool. I'm in Queensland. It's about 20 degrees,
Oh, lovely.
and I believe you guys in Victoria are suffering at about 5.
Yeah, we're about 4 or 5 degrees at the moment, and it's raining cats and dogs. No offense to any animals taken. But so tell us, Ryle, about Shanthy. Tell us about your first book, your first novel, which is exciting.
It's my first novel. I had done a bit of writing before.
Mm-hmm.
I had, I think I had pen in mouth disease. I often wrote, and my first venture was many years ago. I wrote an article about death comes like a thief,
Right.
and that gave me some encouragement. I was in hospital a few years ago having a quadruple bypass.
Wow.
And I was writing a story about Tim, about 4 brothers. Tim, in that was the main character.
Yeah.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And one of the nurses said to me, geez, you look at peace with yourself. And peace, of course, also means Shanthy. So I picked up from that, and I rewrote the word Shanthy a few times on my computer. And then I started writing this story about Shanthy.
Okay.
So it's a long time coming.
Yeah.
But I'm most satisfied with the rendition after your people took it over and dissected it into as they do. I'm more than happy with the outcome of this book now.
Good. No, it's a great story. It's a very, it's simple and elegant, but it has a very vulnerable sense to it as well. Like there's not a lot of pretension in it, which I think is really appealing in a romance or a novel of this sort of style. I think you did a really good job in creating that. And yes, we maybe harnessed the talent you already had in there and just created the construct a little clearer. But I think the book itself is fantastically modelled and told by you originally too. So yeah, don't underestimate your own talent.
The book is not far from the truth. I had a mate of mine who was a college mate of mine who had the thing happen to him in reverse. He was Sinhalese and he met this young Eurasian girl, and fireworks after that, and he went to the United States. So this was all there. So I picked up on that. And to this day, some of that is still true.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about that. Was Shanthy based on your own experiences of love and romance? And did you have this unattainable, woman and the family conflicts? Have you experienced this type of relationship?
I didn't. I married an Australian.
Yes.
And her father and mother were, I was going to say pleased to give her away, but not really.
Well, that's us Aussies. We just pack up our kids in boxes and say, yep, take them. Yep, get them out the door.
Look, we've been together for 50 years now, so something's right.
Oh, good. That's good. But yeah, so Shanthy, well, it's interesting when you said that. The incubus of the story was one word. Now, that's interesting. Peace being Shanthy. One word gave you the sense of a whole story. Is that how you evolved it? Did you find that your characters came to you, that everything sort of became that story from that word? Is that what you would say?
The very word Shanthy has very important connotations.
Mm-hmm.
Shanthy being the word meaning peace. I think you would think of being peaceful and living in harmony and all of that. But the book, of course, as you may know, is a lot
a little more intense. Yeah, a little more intense and dramatic. Yeah.
So,
I guess the theme of it too is seeking Shanthy, is finding your Shanthy, even through tumultuous relationships or experiences or family conflicts, is trying to find the common ground, the peaceful ground where you can reside and finish your life. And I mean, that's the metaphor I think I got out of the book mostly.
Yes, it is a bit of a metaphor.
Yeah.
But in a nutshell, of course, the Sinhalese and the so-called Burghers, or even the Tamils, the Tamils wanted their children to marry Tamils, and the Sinhalese wanted their children to marry Sinhalese.
Yeah.
And the Burghers, or the Eurasians, wanted their children to marry Burghers in Eurasian. So I must admit that when I came to Australia, there was a mate of mine who owned a service station in Malvern, and he said to me, "Mate, I love the Indian people and I love the Sri Lankan people, but as long as my daughter doesn't get married to one of them."
Okay. Fair enough.
Sign of the giant. That's the way people felt about it.
Yeah.
And so be it. Times have changed.
But I think it's good that you don't. I mean, you create understanding of culture, and that's what it is in relationships. It is understanding culture and accepting the differences. And I think that's where I think books like yours are really important in showing that even though both the conflicts are in the Sri Lankan families and such, there's still elements of culture involved in their ways of doing their living and styles and families. And I think that's important to understand that we all come from different parts. And I think you did that really well. And was it something that historically you had to research? Like, did you have to look at relationships back in a period and understand those dynamics? Because that would have been more stronger a feel, I think, as well.
It did.
Historically.
It did. I still have, my best mate just passed away a few years ago, but he was Sinhalese. We did everything together. When I was leaving Sri Lanka, he saw me off to the airport, and my so-called girlfriend at that time was also Burgher, so I didn't have any problems as such.
Yeah.
And he married a Sinhalese. I think he put it to me this way: when he was roughly 19, and she must have been 14. He said to me one day, "I'm going to marry that woman." And that's precisely what he did. They lived together, brought up 3 children. People live their own lives, and they have to be allowed to live them to the best of their ability.
Yeah.
I'm sure you recognize that in your own life.
Yeah, of course.
Regardless of who you marry or who you live with, you have
your identity is important.
There are sacrifices you have to make in life.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
and so Shanthy made a lot of them.
She did. So what do you hope the readers will gain from this book? Like, is it the cultural understanding? Because you're looking at Australian demographic. Culturally, we're a little bit more, I guess, ignorant to some of the foreign cultures and some of the things, but we're growing more aware. And I think it's a good book for Australians and also the rest of the world to embrace this sort of style.
It doesn't matter that what they do get out of it, but what they will get out of it is the fact that regardless of your background and your culture, people are people.
Yeah.
People.
And love is love.
Live a similar life is tough. People live the life according to their ability. Yeah. And this Shanthy is a solicitor. She's easygoing, but very well endowed, face that is on TV all the time, and yet she has her failings. So we all have our failings, I guess.
Of course.
Me more than others.
So why did you feel propelled to write this story? You said you'd written before, but never really a novel. What made you feel that was the time? Like when you said you wanted to start writing, why did you pick this story? What was it that you were trying? What are you exploring in this story?
Well, I think you'll agree that we borrow from our own experience.
Yeah.
And I was in Sri Lanka a few years ago, and I did sit under that banyan tree that I spoke about, and I spoke to friends. My wife was with me, and so were my children. And I saw the story developing there. This background, the way there was a young lady seated on a chair having a soft drink, skirt and blouse, and and she just looked the person that I wanted to be, Shanthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you pick up on that, and I thought to myself, my gosh, this girl is a really attractive woman.
Yeah.
But I wonder whether she would ever be allowed to marry an Australian, or to marry, and this is where you pick things up. The second time I saw her was in a couple of days later, and I was at a war cemetery taking photographs of the various plots.
Yeah.
And that, I think I included that at the beginning of the book. In Trincomalee, there's this beautiful war cemetery, and Trincomalee is something that the older generation will remember. Even when they went to war, they parked their ships in Trincomalee Harbor.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of history behind it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of actual happenings.
Yeah, and it's good. That's the authenticity.
Read my book and turn to the last page. I think you'll find that I still have a story to tell in the next 10 years.
To be continued. But no, it is. And that's what makes the story real, is that it's relatable, whatever culture you're in. There is always that relationship dynamic, and love is, as you say, universal before.
Very true.
So, but it's good that you did get that history and that episodes and the culture involved in it. Now, I'm curious still, what made you want to write a novel? I mean, it was something you hadn't done before.
Oh.
What was the writing process like for you, taking that on and saying, okay, I'm going to create a bigger story, and really see where I can go with it? What was your thoughts? What were your plans?
Well, I wrote a story previously about a guy called Noel X, Noel X cop.
Yeah.
So as an ex cop, his name was Noel Xavier. And as I wrote it, I showed it to my wife, and it was a mess.
Yep.
It was written in the first person, and then about a couple of paragraphs down, it was in the second person, and it just didn't come together.
Didn't work.
So I put it away. Okay, it's pointless. I'm never going to write.
Yeah.
But I have several friends who have come up to me and say, "Can you do this for me and write this for me and all that?" And I thought, well, why not? I'll give it a go. Yeah. We've got nothing to lose. So now I've got Shanthy. I have Shanthy 2. I have Noel X. And I have about 4 books on the go at the moment.
Good.
Some completed, others not.
Have you found the writing experience? Have you found that developing this novel and learning the craft and working through the publishing and editing process,
the craft is
confidence?
The craft is ominous, to say the least.
It's evolving.
But it gives you complete satisfaction. And in today's technological world, I keep writing things on my iPhone and then emailing it to me so that I can join things in various places. It doesn't always work, but technology is so great. That's why you came into it. Because of technology. Here's a guy who's going to do something in the publishing world. Let's twist his arm and see how it works out.
Good idea.
Yeah,
we appreciate the help. Glad to do the work.
As you know, there have been recommendations from others as well.
Good. No, that's great. And so with the artistic process, did you write a lot of time? Did you put a lot of effort into sitting down and making a timeline to write it? Or did you plan it out? Or how did you go? What was your process?
With Shanthy, I became very much a disciplinarian. I would sit down and write for 2 hours and then get up and go for 15 minutes. But while you're there or having a cup of coffee somewhere, you think of something and you write it down on the back of a napkin. So the discipline has to be there.
Yeah.
If you lose your discipline, then I think you lose the plot.
Literally. So what would you share? Like, that's good advice in the sense of that. What would you share to other new writers who come to you and say, oh, Ryle, I want to write a novel. How did you do it? And how could I do it? And what would you say from your experience to help them?
Look, I think some can just pick up a piece of paper and start writing. And their mind is good enough to plot the course from start to finish. Others, I think, need a plan, a drawn plan. Several people who are lecturers in one thing or the other will give you different scenarios of how to achieve your goal.
Absolutely.
You have to work on what works for you.
Absolutely.
With me, I can write the 15th paragraph and then marry it with what I have already done, which is the second paragraph, and vice versa. So you have to discipline yourself to adhere to the writing rules in your mind. Your mind tells you where to go. Follow your mind, follow your own thoughts, but also do a lot of plotting. On a sheet of paper, write down the names of the characters and all of that.
Keep a track,
because otherwise you lose it.
Definitely. So did you find that you had to do other research culturally about Sri Lanka? Even though you're from that country, that's your country. Where did you find you had to research it more, or did you develop more so there was that authenticity?
I had to do a lot of research. I had to do research. I actually went to Sri Lanka on one occasion just for the purpose of researching. Because there is constant change happening in our world, and it's the same process in Sri Lanka. Things are happening, things are looking great. So when I went there and saw a fantastic looking car, for want of a better term, I couldn't use that fantastic looking car in my novel because that car was not even thought of.
Had a date.
When the novel was started. So there is that part of it. So there's research and development of that research as you go along. Good. And of course, the other thing that is very helpful today is Googling various things.
Absolutely. The encyclopedia online.
Asking editors like yourselves what works and what does not work. Not every look. You can go to Kmart and buy a novel for $5, but the prolific writers, good luck to them. It is some of the paper is like using toilet paper to write stories on. Others, if you want a quality book that you can leave behind, especially for your family and friends, you need to go to a proper publishing group, get it done properly. And the biggest advantage that the publishing group has is the marketing. I can write a novel, but I'm bloody hopeless at marketing.
It is a challenge, and particularly with a big market too. There's a lot of books and there's a lot of people wanting to get an opportunity. So it's I agree. But having the right voice and the right book, and that's where yours interested us, and that's why we work with you, is because it's got the elements that I think can make a good books and reach good readers that understand the cultural differences and the appreciation. So with that in mind, if I can ask, for you, what is your definition of literary success? How do you define, when will you know you've succeeded as an author?
It's a tough one. Put that to me in a different way.
How will you know when you're successful in your mind? Well, how do you identify success?
Okay. Sometimes my mind tells me that this will work, but in my first reader edit, it sounds totally haywire.
Yep.
So you eliminate that.
Yep.
You just take the whole paragraph and leave it aside,
mm-hmm.
and it might work in another novel, but it won't work in this one. That has happened even with Shanthy, where I have taken Thelma, the wife of Lobo, taken it out and left it somewhere else, and it works well in the second one, but not in the first one.
Sometimes, I agree. Backstory or plot subplots can be very overpowering to the story. You get lost in them. You need to remove. If you need to cull, usually they're a good space to remove and use them later. I agree. So, but again, how would you find that? How would you know you succeeded once you know? Is it in book sales? Is it in just finishing the book? Is that the success level, or is it about walking down the street and people coming up to you? What is success for you?
Yeah, I have no genuine answer for that, really.
Well, good. Well, maybe that's the part that makes you successful. You don't have the, you haven't attached the ego to the idea of what success is. And it's different for everybody because, as far as I'm concerned, Ryle, I think you're successful already because you've written the book, you've finished the mission, you've done the goal, you've created the product, you've pursued the next steps of publication. And I think that, to me, already shows that you're serious about it. And that's well done. So congratulations on that.
Well, Bradley, the major thing is that to find somebody like yourself who will take the book, have a read of it, you get an editor onto it, you cut it, you dissect it, and say, look, this will work. I liked what your editor said to me when she said that she had read it, I have a easy style of writing, and she learned a lot about Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's a virtual trip into the life of Sri Lankans, or into the life of anyone, and you get there and you build up in your mind what the world is offering, what Sri Lanka is like, or what Australia is like, or what Shanthy is like, or whatever. You build a picture, and that building of that picture. To me, a good book puts into my mind what it is all about, the whole picture.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of that from some of the novels I read, and that's why I go back and try the same author over and over again.
Yeah. No, it is good. And the one thing that I liked was, yes, you learn about another culture in Sri Lanka, but it is still universal. You're still with human beings, people who are dealing with the issues of being people and dealing with relationships and, emotions and keeping that. So it doesn't matter what culture it is, generally. I mean, that's an element, but I think you've really hit the core of actually fighting for the love you want, and sometimes against your own family if it happens. So, no, you've done a great job with this book, Ryle. And if I may take a moment, I'm going to introduce everybody to the concept of buying the book. So just for a change, Ryle's written it for you to read and enjoy. So please go to your local bookstore. You can buy it online, anywhere books are sold. Please, support local authors and local businesses by going to your local bookstore if you can. Get it from the shops. Anyway, please, thank you, Ryle, for your time tonight. That is wonderful. We're very excited about bringing your book out. And thank you for just writing it and sharing it with the world. So.
Bradley, thank you for your contribution. It's paramount that we find people like yourself who are keen on the book and keen on marketing it properly.
Good.
So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and also your editorial team.
Good. Thank you so much for the feedback. Everyone watching, please go out and grab a copy of Shanthy by Ryle Moldrich. And thank you so much for watching us tonight. And we look forward to the next edition of Between the Covers. And everyone take care. Thank you so much.